Let me make sure.
One shot, Stevie.
I'm refreshing to make sure before that we are live
on every channel known to man. Locals, Rumble, Schmeckles, YouTube, Banana Mana.
Hold on, I hear it in multiple places.
Is that supposed to be? Or?
Hold on, I'm closing all windows here.
Close all windows. Alert, alert. Close all windows. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
You don't hear two audios, right?
No, but if I did, I'd be contacting my physician, which you apparently are avoiding for some sort of medical reasons. I hear a dog. Now I hear a dog. But that's kind of normal. I hear the dog, I think.
Just ignore me for 1 second. I have a window that I can't find that I'm going to have to shut.
I have a window that I can't close. There's an open window into my soul, and I can't close that window. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. You want to move on, or what do you want to do?
Now you can hear dogs barking.
Well, that goes with the territory.
I fixed it. We're good. I had the other Safari window open to make sure that
Ebert and Siskel didn't have dogs barking when they did their show. Not now. I mean, you got dogs, you got chickens in there from the other show.
No, I got two.
Wasn't there one when you had chickens all of a sudden running?
Yeah, that was with Allison Moore. We had chickens, and then now I got two kids making.
It's like with doing a show with Farmer Green Jeans or something. I expect barnyard animals to come through the set.
Well, meanwhile, you're the one who's on the. Is it public knowledge as to where you are or on the road?
It's not at this time. No, it's not public knowledge.
Okay, but you're quite clearly not at home anymore because of the Japanese.
I'm not. I'm not at home. But it doesn't matter where I am because the movie is what's important, and movies are universal. Movies are universal.
I'm not a dietitian. You're drinking a big can of Red Bull, and it's like the silver edition.
It's coconut berry, one of my favorite flavors.
Oh my goodness, that's okay. I'm not going to pretend I've ever tasted coconut berry Red Bull.
It's a good one. It's one of the good ones. But then I back it up with this, my favorite energy drink, which is Gatorade Zero.
I was just discussing microplastics and phthalates and whatever the hell. But now
that comes up all the time. Yeah.
Okay, so now that we got the intro, the intro chaos out of the way, we're doing Deer Hunter tonight. It is. I think I'm going to have to think hard about this. I think it's the best war movie ever made. The only ones I'm thinking that
people say that, Viva. People do say that.
Well, I'm thinking I haven't seen All Quiet on the Western Front. I would compare it, or I would think to compare it to not Good Will Hunting, Saving Private Ryan.
Interesting.
I hadn't seen this one since I was a kid yet again, and I remember my father talking about that wedding scene, and I don't know if my dad was studying film or just was ahead of the curve in appreciation of movies. This is, if not the greatest war movie of all time, top three, and it's
completely trashed by the critics, by the way, when it came out.
Well,
Vincent Canby called it a train wreck. I mean, people they went crazy on this film at the beginning, but multiple Oscars, like you're pointing to.
Well, no, but I could appreciate why people didn't like it at the time, because it's not. I was thinking about this. It's not a movie. It's an experience, and I'm not trying to be.
No. You're right. You're right.
It's a 3+. What was it? 3 hours? It was a little over 3 hours, or just close to 3 hours.
Just think about the wedding scene is 40 pages in the script. 40. It's 40 minutes long.
Yeah,
the whole wedding extravaganza.
Just so people appreciate it. So it's a Vietnam War movie from small town America.
Wait. It's Cimino says it's not a Vietnam War movie. Oliver Stone says it's not a Vietnam War movie. Many critics say it's not a Vietnam War movie.
Well, it's a war
because
movie.
It's not. I mean, think about how much time is not involved with battles.
No, but okay,
massive bulk of the film.
No, well, I'd say the purpose of the movie is to show the horrors of war. So I guess in that sense, maybe it's not Vietnam unique, and it just shows that you take people out of their idyllic American dream and send them off to some country where they get destroyed, even if they come back, and then they come back to a destroyed American dream. And that's what I got out of it in terms of, Vietnam was the focal point for this movie. What did they say about when we did Scarface? It was described as the American nightmare, right?
Right.
This is not this movie. I would describe as the death or the murder of the American dream, because that 30-40 minute wedding scene. The movie starts off small town America. They're working at a steel mill.
Yeah.
And it's apparently shot in a real steel mill with real.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Those are real people. In fact, this guy just texted me before the show that he was an extra in the wedding scene. And he said the whole town was in it.
Well, that's another thing. It was
Dude,
clear.
it's just crazy.
Yeah, that there were a handful of actors, put them in quotes, and the other people were just the people. So it starts off in small town America. It's idyllic, it's beautiful. It has the small town happiness and the small town problems. Now, and then you have the wedding scene where they're getting married as they go off to Vietnam. As a few of them are deployed or drafted into Vietnam War, and they have their last hunting trip before they go. The wedding scene wasn't like watching a wedding scene. It was like being at a wedding, except I didn't have access to the full bar.
Yeah, you didn't have access to the full bar. There's so many people partying. In fact, if you read in Michael Cimino's description of it, and also John Savage, who I've met, talked about how this went on for weeks, the filming of this. They used real liquor, real food. This was not movie food. This was not movie liquor. These people are actually getting drunk and dancing in this wedding. And this was treated as a real wedding by the entire city of, I don't know if it's real or not, Clairton, Pennsylvania. I don't know if that's a real place. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but that was the name used in the film. But those people are partying for weeks doing this wedding.
It's amazing. I don't know how you get the continuity of it. I can appreciate someone who's watching this movie at the time and saying, all right, this is, what's the word, self-indulgent or indulgent in terms of, okay, we get it.
The studio went crazy. They just lost their shit over this, and there was nothing they could do about it because he was such an iconic director, artiste oriented director, and they just lost their shit over the 40 minutes on screen of this. Now, to his credit, Cimino said, I needed this to bond these characters so you would never forget how close they were once they left this town. He felt that he needed 40 minutes of intimate screen time to bond all these guys together repeatedly. These scenes that they're showing here, including with Axel, who actually worked in a steel mill. He wasn't even an actor, the fucking A guy. These are real people dancing in a real wedding that is an imaginary wedding.
This is not to be elitist at all. I was just thinking, it's supposed to be people of limited means. I'm thinking like maybe weddings and houses were that much cheaper. Where when I'm looking at this American dream, everybody wants a wedding that's this big and this beautiful in a beautiful church. And I can say that it would have cost $100,000 today. My only question was how, the steelworkers at the time in this movie, under the context,
the whole town put in on this. There's nothing really there. There's just liquor and cake. I mean, there's nothing going on. It's just in a American Legion Hall. In fact, you see the older American Legion Hall members coming in talking about the decorations, and they have the big photos of the people up there on the side of the hall. There's really no money involved in this thing in terms of the town.
Looking at where,
in other words, they're not hiring. There's the blow-ups of the people who are leaving for Vietnam. This is all done by the American Legion. This particular part in the movie with the bunting and the blow-ups of these guys, because you see some of the American Legion hats in the audience when they come in and they're pointing to straightening out the photos up there on the wall.
You mean that this was in the movie was intended to have been done by the American Legion, not the back?
Yes.
Okay, not the back.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so that makes a little more sense. I mean,
But keep in mind, it's a multi-themed wedding because they're leaving for Vietnam, and that's happening in the same time that John Savage is getting married right before he leaves to go to Vietnam. Mm-hmm. So it's a twofer, really.
I can appreciate why people thought it was too long. I read what we were supposed to have understood from that extensive wedding scene, and they're trying to show the dynamics of the not a love triangle, but the love, unrequited love between Meryl Streep and Christopher Walken. Robert De Niro likes Meryl Streep. Meryl Streep likes Christopher Walken. The other dynamic.
I don't want to freak you out, but the relationship between Walken and De Niro is a little homoerotic too.
I didn't pick up on that.
Okay, yeah. I said I didn't want to freak you out, but it is a little much.
Now I got to go back and watch it.
John Cazale calls him a fag multiple times in the movie. It's not obscure.
I thought that was just that's just what we used to call each other back in the day. We
did, but I'm saying he says I tried to push that girl on you. You wouldn't take her. There's multiple hints at it.
I feel exquisitely stupid for having not even remotely picked up on that.
For the love of God. I mean, it's so obvious.
Okay, well, that might explain a few things then. All right, so yeah, they wanted to show the bond among the three people that went off to war. The only problem with that, and I appreciated that angle of it, is that they had that bond, and yet the first thing Robert De Niro wants to do in Vietnam when they're in that makeshift prison is abandon the guy who's broken from reality. I forget his name.
Well, we don't know. It's a little vague. I think that's a tease. I think that's a tease dramatically, because I think he's teasing us, Cimino, on that.
Okay.
Because he says, remember, the scene is, Michael, whatever happens, don't leave me over there. Please, Michael, whatever you do, don't leave me there. So there's that dramatic tease that's set up in the foreshadowing by John Savage that he may leave him behind. He's dead. Forget about him. Let's go. We got to go.
Well, the foreshadowing from the wedding scene that I obviously missed when I was a young idiot, not appreciating it, was the drips of wine spilling onto her beautiful white dress. I mean, it's so obvious when you're an adult and you're a kid, you have no concept of that. So how about
the fact that the entire community is Russian and the film hinges on Russian roulette? How about that? The guy says to him later on, "What is that name?" He says, "Is that Russian?"
He says,
"No, it's American. It's American." But they're clearly Ukrainians. It's an Ukrainian church. They're Russians, and they're playing Russian roulette.
Well, the most interesting fact, I'm going to go to the chat to see who knew this, is that growing up, especially when you're a kid and you're 13 or 12 and you watch that movie and you think Vietnam was characterized by these underground Russian roulette and these, Viet Cong torturers who force people to play Russian roulette. From what I read, it's actually there was no official documented case of using Russian roulette as a torture tactic or as an entertainment tactic in Vietnam, and that it was accepted as a metaphor for the randomness of war, but that there's in fact no historical basis for any of the Russian roulette occurring during Vietnam.
Well, that's debatable. The real movie script that was written was about Russian roulette in Vegas. The original script for this movie, which had nothing to do with Vietnam, by the way, was based on guys going to Las Vegas to physically play Russian roulette in an underground fight club environment. And that script was given to Michael Cimino, who melded it with the Russian roulette gambling in Las Vegas into transposing it into Vietnam and using it as a metaphor that you described in Vietnam. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of truth to that. It was a completely different script, but he melded it into the Deer Hunter with this poor schnook who he hired, who stayed at the Sunset Marquee writing day and night. Then he tried to screw him out of his film credit. The guy went to the Writers Guild and won sole credit over Michael Cimino, who tried to screw him out of it after the film came out.
Okay, see, this is where I know that I wouldn't even know where to start to get some of the information that you have just as lived experience. But when it came to the Russian roulette part of the movie, I remember watching that when I was a kid. The scene where they escaped from the Viet Cong sort of makeshift riverside prison system. I think that is the most intense scene. If it's not number one, it's tied because
no, it's not even close. It's not even close. That's why it's considered one of the greatest movies ever made because of that scene. That scene. Now they use live ammo. De Niro insisted on having live ammo on the table, in his hand, in the gun. He wanted to show it visually, create this tension. And you talk about what happened with Alec Baldwin. He held on to these guns, though, De Niro himself, for safety reasons, to show that he had control of the weapon. The famous line, I think, that comes out, he says, we got to get more bullets in the gun. He says it a couple of times, and Christopher Walken says, more bullets in the gun. Like, what are you, fucking crazy? But that's his plot device, isn't it, Viva? He needs more bullets in the gun because he's done a head count of how many guys he's got to take out with the bullets in the gun.
We're going to ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen it.
Oh, we can't do this every week. Just do the fucking movie, bro.
Spoiler, people. It starts off beautifully, steelworkers. Then they have the wedding. And then they have the scene where I forget the guy's name, but he's playing classical piano. It's I want to say Rachmaninoff, but
that's the bartender, the restaurant owner. Yeah,
I'm going to double check what. There was no deeper meaning other than the fact that it was symbolic.
No, it was civilization. It was the end of civilization. I always construed it as that, the final departure from civilized society.
Well, that's it, and then it goes straight into. They didn't shoot in Vietnam. Where did they shoot? In I want to say
Thailand. I think Thailand.
They had to shoot on location where they could get away with being very, very reckless on set. That much I know. But
everybody does that. I mean, all of these films are shot in Thailand or the Philippines. Apocalypse Now. I mean, they're all shot there. I mean, this is not unusual for Cimino.
Well, and that was the transition. It goes from beautiful piano to there's no entry. They're in the thick of battle. They get taken hostage by Viet Cong in some failed mission. In some Vietnamese
back up, because they run into each other by coincidence. Michael is there. Michael, keep in mind that Michael is airborne ranger. He's a sergeant airborne ranger, and I can only ask my Vietnam vet friends what rank and situation that Michael was in, because his patches read airborne ranger, or there's a screaming eagle and it says ranger, and there's a sergeant patch. Later on, he's described as a Green Beret, and the foreshadowing is that Green Beret in the bar who says, fuck it. Remember that foreshadowing of that returning Michael character when he tries to go at him saying, fuck it. What do you mean, fuck it? Fuck you. And that whole scene is a foreshadow to Michael coming home later. But his actual... The situation is they're regular infantry is what I'm trying to say. And he is either a Green Beret or a Ranger involved in a... Oh, okay.
Well, that I absolutely didn't pick up on that, but that does explain also why he is the one who's instrumental.
Yes, absolutely. Right. He's way above them in terms of skill and rank and everything else. That's why he takes over the leadership of this thing and says, we're getting out of here. And he's in a completely different war. Keep in mind, they're showing up as regular grunts. These guys, the two of them are grunts, and he's involved in really behind enemy lines, and they are behind enemy lines. That's why we see that.
No, and also that also sort of does explain. I mean, I know it was a theme of the movie that even when Robert De Niro comes back to civilian life, he's always wearing his military uniform.
Yeah.
But that so that explains, because you're right. I should have not skipped over the fact that De Niro's out there, and then he runs into the other two, Christopher Walken and say randomly in some village. It doesn't really get clear on how they got taken prisoner.
No, he skips that. He doesn't. You don't really need that. It's probably cut out. I mean, the movie's so goddamn long. I mean, you don't. You could just see them coming over the ridge, thousands of North Vietnamese. So you just go, oh fuck, it's obvious what's going to happen.
No, that's it. I actually had to, I'm watching the movie, like, what the hell? Were they not just fighting, and now they're in this thing? And then I made sure I didn't pass out or have a seizure.
Well, they cut to this. This is really the beginning of the POW situation here on this River Kwai thatched hut torture center here.
It is from my understanding, and what like you say about all these other movies at the time, they were living the roles and not method acting to the extreme.
Oh no, you're right. You're absolutely right. In fact, Cimino made them not bathe for months. He said you can't change your clothes or shave. He wanted them smelling, and did smell, incredibly disgusting. They weren't allowed to bathe, shave, or change their clothes for nearly a month and a half.
Yeah, that would be that's a hard no for me, dog. So I remember watching this when I was a kid. I forget the character's name, the one who ended up losing his legs and his arm. What's his real name?
It's Stevie. John Savage.
That's Savage. Okay, I gotta go by real names and not the characters. But
yes, I
remember watching this when I was a kid, thinking this guy was overacting and over dramatic. And watching it this time, I realize now that I think he must have actually taken.
He suffered a lot. No, after he had to. First of all, John Savage is really crazy. I just want to tell you, even when he does an interview, he starts sobbing, and he was damaged by this film completely, according to himself. And so was Walken, by the way, was damaged by this film. I mean, you just don't turn it off and go back to civilian life after doing this shit. I mean, it takes a toll on someone.
Well, if that's it, when he was having his panic, when he's in the bamboo cage in the water and he's listening to the clicks and waiting for the booms, that's like a full-fledged panic attack that he was actually in real time replicating or having. Christopher Walken, also from what I understand, went through a massive physical transformation where I don't know how much weight did he lose throughout the course of this movie.
Yeah, he just ate rice for months. They wanted him to look like a POW, so he just ate rice for a couple of months to get emaciated.
Well, when we get to the end scene, we'll talk about what he looked like, because he was a dead man walking at that point.
Yeah.
But so the most intense scene ever, when they're playing Russian roulette, Robert De Niro says the only way to get out of here is to shoot our way out. He wants to play Russian roulette against Christopher Walken, demands that they put
no, not at that time. All right. He says the two, first of all, you see them playing off each other, then they put the two together. So you're right there. But he sizes up the opposition. He sees the two cats sleeping with their AK-47s, and he writes them out of his mind in terms of bullet count. And then he realizes that Walken has got to grab one of those AK-47s to shoot their way out, because that revolver that he has basically has the 3 bullets in it that you're seeing there, the 3. And he keeps saying 3. Now that leaves, if it's a 5-chamber revolver, that leaves you 2/5 of a mile to get out of that thing mathematically.
Well, I mean, I was doing the math based on 6. So if it's,
it could have been a 6.
But either way, and so Christopher Walken, when he says you have to do it, you're going to die anyhow. I mean, it looks like it's beyond acting, but set that aside, they're still actors. But it's amazing. Then Robert De Niro says, "Put 3 in," and so he then shoots his way out. There's whether or not you think it's a little convenient or exaggerated, like the half-assed guards end up shooting the other guards by accident. They shoot their way out. The scene with Christopher Walken, I remember this one also, bashing the guy's head in with the butt of the rifle until there's nothing left to bash.
Yeah, keep in mind that they show the beer cans on the table to indicate they were drinking, which is important for the stupor.
Yeah.
They're not at their sharpest, these North Vietnamese Viet Cong.
The thing with this, like, nobody did this anymore. To play Russian roulette for entertainment or for torture is among the least, torturous things that I would imagine.
Who cares? It's ridiculous. They've done so many bizarre things up there. Who know? I assume they did Russian roulette. Why wouldn't they? Why does anybody draw the line at that? That's insane.
I know it's totally historically inaccurate.
How the fuck do you know? I mean, not you, but I'm saying, how does anybody know what went on up there?
I would take for, I mean, even from that famous still from the war of the American soldier shooting the Viet Cong guy with, that looks like the Russian roulette-ish of.
Well, first of all, it was not an American guy shooting him. It was a captain in the South Vietnamese army. It
was not an American
who shot that guy who had blown up an entire village earlier in the day. When he shoots him in the head, that is retribution for what he did earlier in the day, by the way.
Oh, hold on. I'm going to have to refresh my memory on that picture.
Yeah, go ahead. That's a South Vietnamese
shooting a North Vietnamese in the head.
North Viet Cong undercover terrorist who blew up a whole village in South Vietnam.
Oh,
they made hay out of it. The anti-war people made hay out of it, but that's the real background, whether you like it or not.
Okay, no. So then it was the photographer. I remember the photographer was American. Said he felt bad because that guy who was killing.
Yeah, he didn't know the backstory. He didn't know the backstory. He just had a photo and an image, and they ran with it. So did the Soviets.
Okay, all that to say, by the way, I couldn't. Not only did I don't care that historians say it never happened. I presume it did, because it would be the least torturous method of torturing people. They bust their way out. The scene down the river also was lived, not acted.
Well, you got to get into that scene down the river, because this is really complicated, because the tree that they're on starts spinning around, and it's got underneath it's got bamboo built by the prop guys. These guys are holding on to a really heavy duty lead like thing that's been in the river for so long. It's almost like lead, and it's being kept afloat by bamboo underneath, just so you know what's going on here. And it begins spinning around, according to Cimino, who is following this in a boat with a camera in real time. And this starts spinning because it's going down river now, and he's got to keep circling this, Viva, with his camera boat.
I understood that. I want to make sure what the injuries were, but there were real injuries sustained as they were doing this scene, which was.
Well, if you go forward, when you see the helicopter coming, which I'll explain through a series of photos, the Thai helicopter pilot, who was very tired because he was doing this all day long, got the pontoon on the. See, if you back up a little bit further, this is okay. Even now, you could look at it. These are two other guys who they're carrying out of Vietnam. But the pontoon of the helicopter on the left gets hooked onto that bridge and begins tilting over sideways. In the real shooting of this, Cimino is on board the helicopter. You see that bridge? The rope on the bottom and the top and the boards there that are the actual bridge, the pontoon of this chopper gets hooked on the top. And if you move forward with a couple of these photos, this is a shot from the chopper looking down at them. Cimino himself is trying to extricate the bridge. This is the hand of Michael Cimino with the watch right here. That's Michael Cimino's hand. He is attempting to extricate, not them, the pontoon of the chopper from the bridge, or actually the reverse, the loosely roped bridge from the pontoon of the chopper, because it's tilting over at a 30-degree angle at this point. And these men, not stunt guys, will plummet into the river down below, and Savage will injure both his knees. That's really Michael Savage. That's really John Savage and Robert De Niro plunging into that river.
Yeah, they did it multiple times from, what was it, 30 or something. How many times did they do that? The drop into the water?
I think it was one take. I'm not sure about multiple times. I think it was one take. But he did injure both his knees, John Savage, in that fall. And then they did extricate the pontoon from the rope bridge. But that chopper was going down, according to Cimino's memoirs.
Did it also, when it snagged the bridge, the pontoons, it lifted the bridge up very, very high into the air, with the actors actually dangling in real time?
Yes, absolutely.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's completely insane. I mean, nobody would ever do this today because of how dangerous. They're not even using stunt guys, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, as much as I want to hate Robert De Niro for everything, I mean, it's insanity.
Oh, come on.
No, I know, but also like it's not. And as much as I want to hate actors in general for not actually doing anything, not actually being anything other than impersonating people.
He did stuff in this, and I mean, the weight loss and gain in Raging Bull, and the training to fight in Raging Bull. I mean, that we covered that one.
Yeah,
how much physicality. This is even more physicality for him.
No, this is what was the movie where the person got killed? We talked. I mean, you talked about this.
By the way, this is not supposed to be De Niro. I mean, my old friend Roy Scheider from Jaws bailed out 3 weeks before production started because he hated Cimino's guts and couldn't work with him. This is supposed to be Roy Scheider. De Niro doesn't show up till 2 weeks before the production starts, and he goes around with Cimino in this area they're shooting in Pennsylvania to the steel mills and everything. And he says, I can't believe how much research this director has done, Michael Cimino, and he signs on to it for $1 million flat. He's then going to pay the medical cost and the health insurance for John Cazale, because John Cazale is dying of terminal cancer. John Cazale will die 1 month after this film comes out. His girlfriend is Meryl Streep. She's on the set with him just because to watch John Cazale. Her part is minimal in this movie.
John Cazale in the movie. I got to put he's the guy with the big forehead and the dark hair, right? Yeah, him. Okay.
John Cazale from The Godfather, and also from Dog Day Afternoon with Al Pacino. He knows he's terminal. He tells Cimino, "I have terminal cancer. I would like to do this film." And Cimino says, "I don't care what you have. You're in." And he brings on John Cazale into this role. And John Cazale will die a month after, but they try to force him out of the movie. They cut off health insurance to him, the movie company. And I think it was EMI, the record company that produced it. Universal distributed it. Lou Wasserman will come into play in this storyline. But John Cazale knows that he's dying. So, I mean, there's that particular side thing about Cazale. And indeed, he does die a month after the film. Yeah.
That's what type? I'm just looking to see what type of cancer. Lung
that
cancer.
I don't know. I don't know. It's
No,
usually-
in terms of the ability to shoot the movie, he didn't have the strenuous scenes, but he was in it quite a bit. And then
yeah, oh yeah. I mean, he's up in the mountains. I mean, they're they're going up for those deer hunting scenes up there in the mountains. It was quite strenuous.
the mountains. What do they call the Pacific Northwest? Correct.
Well, no, it looked like Pennsylvania. It looked like the Allegheny Mountains, if you want to ask me.
Hold on, I got to see the mountains.
I don't know. I assuming it's the Poconos or the Alleghenies, but call me crazy.
Let me see here. I would have
Maybe
said
they shot it somewhere else.
Well, I thought I saw glaciers in the back. That's why. Where were the hunting scenes?
Well, it's snow. I mean, it is snowy.
It looked artificially beautiful, but so this was
that's quite real. This is Pennsylvania.
Let me see here. I'm going. Okay,
well, maybe not. Maybe a shot.
Hold on. Oh, I just saw the word Allegheny come. Oh no, but now I'm seeing Washington
It's gotta
State.
be the Alleghenies. Where is this?
Hold on. I love looking at as the AI. It queries itself. Cascade Mountains, North Cascades, Washington State, specifically Heather Meadows and Mount Baker.
Okay,
that's where it looks like it's going now, but it definitely had some scenes in Allegheny because that also seemed to, or maybe
yeah.
Well, either way,
let me get back to the thing with the studios, because De Niro will pay for John Cazale's health insurance to keep him on board the movie. Now, this movie will eventually, Universal will have a heart attack because of the length of the movie. So he will go to Lew Wasserman, the godfather of Universal, the godfather of all studio heads, Lew Wasserman being the man who created MCA, the man who created Universal. And Lew Wasserman says there's two cuts to this movie. There is the one that's an hour shorter, Viva, and there's one that's your cut to Michael Cimino. And he said both of these need to have test screenings. This is Lew Wasserman as King Solomon saying whichever test screening, he's being fair because he could have been a cunt about it. He says whichever test screening does better, the long one, which is yours, or the short one, which is ours, that's the one we're going to release. And he shakes Michael Cimino's hand on this. So there's two screenings. One is in Chicago, the other's in Cleveland, exactly the same time, exactly the same size audiences. And Michael Cimino goes to the one in Cleveland, and he goes up, and then this is the shorter version. He goes to the one for the screening of the shorter version of his film, and he goes into the projection booth and he gives the guy $500, and he says, "I want you to burn the middle of this film and destroy it." And the guy goes, "Okay." And the film is being projected an hour and a half in. All of a sudden, the film starts burning up on screen, like Inglourious Bastards, the Tarantino film, does on screen. This is intentional by the projectionist who's been paid by Michael Cimino to physically destroy the negative of the film, the celluloid of the film during the projection from the projection booth. He then takes an hour off, recuts the film. The screening people come back. They've lost all track of the film, and they voted to be a terribly shitty piece of film. So the test scores for the shorter film are recorded by the audience as having sucked. The longer one runs uninterrupted in Chicago and gets incredible test scores, and that's the one that Universal released. And Lew Wasserman had no idea that Michael Cimino had fucked him like this.
In terms of, let me make sure I understood what you said there. Which one did they burnt? The one that was going to be the shorter,
the short
one.
Universal cut. Yeah, the cut by the studio. Yeah.
Okay, but when they burn it, do they finish? Are they able to finish the movie at all, or do they?
Yeah, no, he cut it back together. The projection guy, he cut out the piece that burned. He spliced it back together. There was an hour break in the screening. The audience came back in. They lost all track of the film by that point. And
what
they said, "This sucks."
Little bastard.
I mean, sneaky little Cimino bastard. But I mean, whoa, what a move! It's such a good move. You can like and subscribe to the channel at this point.
Well, hold on a second. Has anyone ever seen what was the shorter version? Like, did they release?
Yes.
And
yeah,
what
it wasn't released. No, of course it wasn't released. But people in the studio saw it, and Cimino saw it and wanted to kill himself.
Okay, so like they don't offer that as an extra feature.
No. In fact, I think he physically destroyed as many as he could, according to Cimino. I think he physically destroyed as many as he could. He was a film gorilla, this guy. He was an urban guerrilla. I mean, this guy was a terrorist, Michael Cimino.
But if I had to, do you know what were the shortened scenes in it? I imagine they cut out a lot of the
wedding thing was probably 30 minutes shorter. Yeah, it's probably the wedding scene.
Yeah, I mean that the wedding scene, and maybe the scene where he goes to rescue his friend from the hospital, the VA hospital at the end.
Well, we'll never know. It's not really relevant. But the point of the matter is, we got the actual director's cut into the zeitgeist, which is what Cimino wanted.
Now, just to bring it back to this, because it's actually kind of, I say, spiritually important. The deer hunting scenes in The Deer Hunter were actually filmed in Cascade Mountains in Washington State. No footage was shot in Pennsylvania, Alleghenies.
Wow.
The production traveled across the country for the dramatic high-altitude scenery that better suited the film's visual style.
Well, I mean, they probably launched out of L.A. You know, most of them were probably in L.A. and they went up there from the West Coast.
It was magnificently glorious. What I was thinking, if I were a critic and criticizing a movie, I would say if there are any actual deer hunters watching this movie, they would have a laughing fit at these guys, how they were hunting deer. Like, I know guys who hunt deer. You got to sit there. You got to be quiet.
Dude, I've known guys who hunt deer just that exact way.
Oh, okay.
I know guys who do that exactly the same way, bro. So for everyone you're saying, I know 15 that do it that way.
That's only because you know more people and have lived longer. Okay, fine. I take it back.
I've lived in rural areas, and I know people who are like that.
I would have imagined that anybody who's a deer hunter is watching this saying this is laughably stupid. They're scaring off the deer when they're shooting, running, chasing.
No, it was, dude. I wish that was true, but in real life, it's not true. They load up with beer and bologna sandwiches, and they go out there and they drink and they roll around with rifles sometimes.
It was objectively glorious, the scenery where they were. So they have their last hunting trip before they go out. I wanted to double check if they actually killed the deer. I suspect they actually.
Oh yeah, they're going to tell you. They're going to. Dear Viva, we killed the deer. Just wanted you to know. Love, Peter. Some amazing. So Chris, how much weight did Christopher Walken lose for this movie, where he became a walking corpse by the end of it? It got me because he's like a thin guy to begin with. I don't know how much he could have lost. He's a tall, thin guy, but there's no movie that has ever been filmed where Christopher Walken does not dance.
Let me think.
There is no movie where he does not dance. You could take that to the bank, my friend.
Yeah, I'm thinking all comedies.
Even if it's a couple of dance steps, it's not like full dance numbers, but even in a small cameo, he will do some kind of dance steps.
Oh, I see. Well, now I'm thinking of Dead Zone. Dead Zone is the only one I can think of maybe where there would not have been room for a dance.
I just recently saw it, and he does do a dance in Dead Zone, too.
All of the comedies I could see him dancing in.
The point of the matter is, when a man says no to champagne, he says no to life, Eva. And that is one of the key lines of the movie. It's almost like Play It Again, Sam. Because the French guy that you could relate to, because he's French, is a guy that lives on the edge, lives for life, is a guy who's a broker looking for these future players in this game. The French guy in this is really fascinating because he is the one who procures the people who are going to play this game. And remember when Michael comes back for the final game, how difficult it is for him to get that game.
Well, interesting fact, because I didn't have subtitles on, but everything, the guy is actually a French actor, and he was basically saying, no, I don't speak English. And he was communicating in legit French, and they were making sense with the guys. That's another thing I didn't appreciate at the time, is that the French guy, if you say no to champagne, you say no to life. He was not just recruiting people for the game, but recruiting broken people who were still quite clearly in a state of shock from what they had gone through, albeit we're told fictitiously, because Russian roulette was never officially done in any part of Saigon, Vietnam.
Well, heroin wasn't official either, and his track marks that De Niro sees on Walken indicates why he is such a zombie at that point. Those long heroin track marks, that's not an official thing of Vietnam either.
I've never seen that. I know of track marks in the movie. It looked like his veins were turning black. Or is that supposed to be scars from where you put needles in?
Yeah, needles, or a lot of times, this is in the weeds, but a lot of times you don't have syringes. So if you're William Burroughs, you will take a razor blade, cut open your vein, and drop the heroin into the vein. those scars that they were indicating there indicated that was the method, because you're in the jungle and you're in fucking Saigon. It's not like syringes are flying around clean everywhere. A lot of guys will take a razor or a knife and just open up your skin and pour the drugs into the skin.
Wow.
Leaving those really, really bad track marks is what I was saying.
All right.
Which explains his character. Remember, he's
zombified.
He's completely zombified. It's not from the game itself. It's from the drugs. Now he hocks a giant loogie into Michael's face.
Unplanned, or at least unplanted. De Niro. Is it true that De Niro was so shocked he threatened to quit that day because of all the things they did? That seems like I read that. I was like,
that sounds doubtful, bro.
Of all the things, the live rats in the cages on the river, getting
that rat is dead, by the way. When he pulls him out of there, that rat is floating belly up. I don't know what happened to that rat, because it crawls on. Now, there are guys in film that would just. There are wranglers who come to the set who are just wranglers of specific things. It's one of the funniest things in movies. There are maggot wranglers who just bring a briefcase full of maggots. There are worm wranglers. There are rat wranglers. There are all kinds of wranglers. So the rat wrangler has to show up and convince you that, yes, the rat is going to run across your face. He's Jimmy, my favorite rat. And don't worry about Jimmy. He's a great rat. But Jimmy, the rat, if that was his name, is when they pull him out of the cage, he's upside down. I think he's dead.
Yeah, that's... I don't think I would have if I knew the rat was clean.
I can't see it there, but there's when they pull John Savage out when they're leaving, the rat is floating belly up.
Apparently, they didn't actually kill any real deer that we know of.
Sure, sure.
How they faked the kill deer? The first shot, this is interesting, of it collapsing. It was hit with a tranquilizer dart, not a bullet. I call bullshit. And they killed the deer. The dart.
I'm telling you, they had to bring in a deer wrangler for that.
It says the dart is even briefly visible in the close-up. If you look carefully, I want to see that. The animal.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
The second deer, this one, it was also a deer. Okay, so they killed no deer, but if a rat dies, you think a rat wrangler cares if one of his rats dies?
Yes, he does. That's his money. That's his bread and butter. That's why I'm saying that. I mean, it's a big deal to the rat wrangler. Oh, the maggot wrangler, not so much. When they bring in the maggot wrangler, that's not so bad.
Huh. All right. So now also the needle thing that you're talking about is also like, oh, you're in the middle of the jungle, so you want to open your veins to
well, you don't
disease and infection.
It's you're shooting dope. You're not shooting dope. I mean, you're trying to administer dope all day long. So it's not like you've got a lot of syringes to choose from. You could use the same one, but you could easily lose that too.
That's wild. All right, so now
you can read about it in Naked Lunch by William Burroughs, by the way, for people at home.
They made a movie out of that.
Yeah.
I saw the movie when I was a kid. Definitely did not remember liking it. Naked Lunch. Not to be confused with Naked Gun. Those are two very different movies.
Well, one is a comedy, the other one's
I'm not that stupid. Okay, so hold on. So we get back to the scene. They legit almost die in the helicopter scene. That's wild. Some sites say
they're injured. That's for sure. We know that they got hurt.
So some sites said that they did the falling from 30 feet 15 times over the course of 2 days. But either way, crazy. And I didn't appreciate that the whatever the things are, the pontoons getting stuck in the bridge was an accident.
Yeah, it looked like it in the film, but Cimino talks about it in interviews, and that is legitimately his hand with that wristwatch trying to get the bridge off of the pontoon because he said the Thai pilot was so tired of flying that he was falling asleep at the throttle there.
Yeah, I guess the watch could not have been anachronistic given this.
No, I assume it was.
So after they make it down the river, so this is another question I had in the movie, and I had to get an explanation. Christopher Walken is the one who gets rescued first. Both Savage and De Niro fall back into the river.
Yeah.
Remember,
he's fighting with them, on board the chopper. But they're doing this all day long. And forget when the chopper comes upriver, there's two guys hanging on the pontoons to begin with. So they had to take those guys somewhere and come back.
Yeah, that's what it was. It wasn't clear. I thought maybe that was.
Look at these guys. I mean, these are two other guys they're flying. These are real stuntmen here. But they would go. I wasn't over there. Maybe somebody who was could, elucidate what happened. But these airborne rangers were unbelievably heroic in pulling these people out of these rivers in harm's way.
In the actual,
it's unbelievable. The actual heroism
war.
In the actual war, the actual heroism that goes on in this war is so far off the human scale and is unheralded by Western culture. It's unbelievable how dark it is. I mean, the heroism that these guys went through. By the way, Michael Cimino privately and secretly was involved in funding the Vietnam War Memorial in D.C. The actual war memorial itself. He was behind the scenes involved financially to raise the money for that war memorial.
Well, it's the interesting thing about the movies. It brings you into what is, they're not giving you the clear context of why they're either rescuing. So after Christopher Walken gets rescued, Savage and De Niro fall back into the water. Savage compound fracture, his legs are destroyed. De Niro picks him up, and then they come across a convoy of. You find out they're South Vietnamese being guided.
Well, because now we've stumbled into 1975 and the fall of Saigon. That's what you're seeing is the mass exodus fleeing from the death and destruction of the North Vietnamese who are going to come and kill everybody, which is what they do once they take over the South. These are people fleeing from north to south, north of South Vietnam, fleeing as far towards the American embassy as you could get towards American troops, and including the South Vietnamese regulars who you see, these guys here, these are South Vietnamese regulars fleeing, and they put the body onto he puts the body onto the front of the car.
Yeah, and that was what I had to double check in the movie because I didn't know how they knew that they were South Vietnamese and not North Vietnamese or Viet Cong.
Oh, he knew because he was Green Beret. I mean, he knew. I mean, he's been dealing with these guys for years. And you can tell by their uniforms and their whole. Well, first of all, the Viet Cong barely had uniforms. The South Vietnamese regulars were funded to the teeth.
Oh yeah, we forgot to mention the intro scene of the war when they flash from the idyllic, Middle America to Vietnam, and it's a guy dropping a bomb in a bunker filled with women and children. I forgot. We should probably forgot to mention that.
Again, that was okay, let me just explain that. That was a North Vietnamese Viet Cong killing his North Vietnamese people for either ratting them out or doing something against the North Vietnamese, against the Viet Cong. He was killing Vietnamese people for being part of the intelligence network or not, just killing them.
Yeah, that was quite, I mean, obviously impactful, but yeah, that was the contrast.
Yeah, this whole area has been overrun by North Vietnamese at this point, that we're plopped into the middle of, there may have been more in a longer cut, but we're plopped into the middle of this battle scene here. And, everything that's happening is them doing it to their own people.
And so they get picked up by a convoy of South Vietnamese soldiers and civilians escaping. And then I'm not missing another scene. Then the next scene is they're in a hospital, and we're looking at Christopher Walken, who's in his first stages.
Well, Walken is first trying to call. Remember, he takes out the picture of Meryl Streep, and then he attempts to. He's in the hospital, right? He doesn't. Yeah. He doesn't know where he is, and he's completely disoriented. I guess he recovers from that because this scene here is
where he's catatonic for the first time, but not. Yeah. And again, not to say this movie could have been any longer, but it was sort of an abrupt transition from catatonic, can't remember his parents' name, and another very emotional, a cliched word. It's as dramatic and accurate a representation of injuries you can get. And then the next thing he's looking at a picture, thinking whether or not to call, but. Yeah,
well, I presume that he didn't use dissolves. Usually they use dissolves to show a passage of time. Cimino doesn't use dissolves. So we are abruptly left to believe that months have gone by where he has now been released from the hospital and he's calling back to the United States, and he's going to call Meryl Streep, who is his girlfriend. He then takes out her picture and has second thoughts.
Yeah, and that actually does get sort of explained later on, where Meryl Streep says he never called, and then Robert De Niro says, "Well, maybe you weren't home."
Yeah.
So he then doesn't get out of Saigon, though, right? He never.
No, he that's what's odd about it. He technically goes AWOL. Keep in mind, he's still a military under the rule of the military. He then goes back to Saigon in the middle of this chaos, because he's so addicted to the chaos and the life that was going on, that he leaves and he says, "Fuck this! I can't go back. I'm too native at this point." He goes rogue and goes native. Well, and that was AWOL and legally AWOL.
That's where I had a mismemory, where I thought there were scenes where he goes back to America and then goes from America back to Saigon, but that was actually Robert De Niro.
No, that's Michael. That's De Niro going there and back, which is crazy. Which is crazy for a movie to do that. No other movie has done that. You know, John Voight coming home. It's always like, you're home. That's the end of the movie. In this movie, he goes back. It's crazy.
It's indeed.
He goes back because he can't leave him behind. That's the American ideology.
Him going back as everyone is fleeing, as Saigon is falling, and trying to get back into the underground Russian roulette. We'll get to that one in a bit. The movie. Look, when certain movies come out and they paint an image of an identifiable group, this movie definitely makes the Vietnamese, North Vietnamese in particular, look like enemies. And even the whoever's engaging in this games, it looks like the seediest, most evil underground underbelly of society you can possibly imagine. But there's a big part when.
Well, just to identify that, those three individuals are all coming back for different reasons. This guy in the front here, this general, is coming back for his particular reasons. The guy in the rear is coming back for his reasons. And then obviously Robert De Niro is coming back for his reasons. There were choppers in and out of Saigon day and night from the rooftop of the U.S. Embassy right here, shown being guarded by U.S. military. This is one of the choppers that's going to take off. The choppers are leaving every 5 seconds and landing for people doing a million different things. We've been there for so long. There's so many things that have to be buttoned up. This is the end. This is the end. And to quote Jim Morrison, there's nothing after this. The leaving of Saigon and then trying to get on board these ships that are right off the Saigon, right off the coast of Vietnam. Like, you have to get from here to the ships. If you're Vietnamese, if you're an American regular, and
the director, Michael Cimino. They were splicing in actual documentary.
Yeah, in fact, it freaked him out. He got so freaked out by the actual footage because it was better than, as he said, it was better than anything I could ever film, and he was intimidated by the camera work of some of the crack newsreel cameramen who were the best in the world and had been doing this for 20 years. And he was intimidated by it. So he took their footage and cut it into his own.
No, it was amazing. But we missed one subplot in all of this. Before De Niro goes back, he comes back home. They have the welcome party for him, which he feels too guilt-ridden or uncomfortable to see.
Right. Well, that's explicable. I mean, it's not that bizarre. You know, you're coming out of the fucking jungle where you've been for.
I don't know how.
How do you make that transition, Viva?
Whenever we have a lot of, I've become friends with a lot of veterans who served in Afghanistan, Iraq. Like, how do you come back to civilian society and look at people fighting over parking spots and ever feel?
How about coming back and forth? How about having a week or two off and coming back to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for a week and then going back into the jungle?
Yeah, no, I don't know how the transition works. And there's a farmer up the street, Jake from Coastal Pastures Farm. And he's like, I said, what do they do to help you integrate? He says, they gave us a 2-hour PowerPoint presentation and said, you're on your own. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
So Robert De Niro comes back. He doesn't feel comfortable reintegrating into a celebratory position yet, goes to a hotel. Another scene as a kid, you can't possibly relate to it, but
this is good when he squats down
and just like sits against the wall and basically rocking.
He keeps grabbing his right eye. He keeps grabbing his right eye.
I assumed he had a migraine, but not to.
Well, it could be a migraine. It could be shrapnel. It could be a lot of different things. I mean, he's got so many medals. I mean, look at the salad he's got on his chest. I
Yeah,
mean, look what he's got going there.
But you do the subtleties and the nuance in the movie again, it comes from people who are living the roles and not just merely acting the roles.
How about when she takes him into the supermarket, and these women come up and kiss him because
the old ladies kissing him. No, it feels
but they grew up with him. They know who he is. This is not a guy who's just randomly coming to a random town. This is his town. This is his country. These are the people welcoming him home, including the guy who sang at the wedding, who is actually the manager of the supermarket. Who sang the Frankie Valli song. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you.
I did love the fact that the owner or he's smoking a cigar in the.
He tucks one in for him. Welcome back. I mean, it's kind of awkward because what do you say to someone who took your place? Who went over there while you were, doing this over here. I mean, it's awkward to say the least.
Yeah, the one
they enlisted, but I mean, by the way, they weren't drafted. They did enlist.
The one subplot in the movie that I didn't understand until I looked into it was the wife who's gone herself has gone semi-catatonic. Because her husband came back and he's the one who it's Mike Savage who lost his legs. John Savage, sorry. And so he's now basically hiding out in the VA hospital because he
how does he reintegrate?
Yeah,
I mean, in 1967, 68, you've got no legs and you're missing an arm. Good luck with that.
No, and the detail of the movie, which it's acute, is the noise that the wheelchair at the time is making. Is in addition to everything, it sounded like there was something of a siren going off every time he operated the wheelchair. So he's hiding out at the hospital because he's still physically, psychologically destroyed. His wife has had which I didn't understand. The baby in that scene is supposed to be the baby of another man that she got pregnant with when he was gone. Yes. Not to sound stupid, when on earth in the movie was I ever supposed to surmise that? Just based on it having
the blonde hair helps. There's the age helps. The time he was gone helps. There's a bunch of different factors.
I would have never picked up on that, but now watching this,
you did now.
Yeah, well, no, because what I'm doing now is I'm reading explanations before watching it, and then after, so I can really get the full appreciation. So she's riddled with guilt because she had a baby with another man.
She's also catatonic. It's more than riddled with guilt. I mean, she can't even speak. It's not because of the baby. It's because of the whole fucking thing. She assumed, I believe, like many people, that he was dead.
Her husband, yeah.
And now he comes back, he's half a man. I mean, it's a little awkward.
She sort of regains some level of tonicism. That's not a word. She regains some ability by the end to some quasi bittersweet happy ending.
She writes down the phone number of the VA hospital. That's the best she could do right here.
Oh, wait, hold on. So she was not the one in the black veil at the end of the movie?
No, she writes down right here. She writes down the phone number
to go find
the VA hospital. And he goes to call, but he doesn't complete the call, if you remember.
Yeah, I thought she was one of the women sitting around the table at the end when they were. Okay. So there was that subplot of the whole movie. We also can't forget another part when they go back to the second round of the deer hunting before he goes back. They go back for round 2 of the deer hunting, and Robert De Niro can't bring himself to shoot the deer, which is not weird.
Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting.
Because he chases it down, so it's not like he wasn't. It wasn't like he was.
It was a clean shot. He could have taken it out, and he just shot up in the sky and let it go.
That's another thing.
How many people did he kill when he was over there?
Well, it's a question that I had asked. A couple of people. When you come back, can you go back to sports that involve, killing an animal? By and large, I think. That's might not be. In the movie, it didn't look like he didn't do it out of trauma. It looked like it was a question of control. He said, I got you, and now go. And it wasn't a question of him being physically unable to take a life.
No. He didn't have a meltdown about it. He just let it live. It's live and let live at that point.
And now, Mark, let's get to the scene of the movie that traumatized me as a kid.
Okay.
It was just as bad as an adult.
The masturbation scene with the elephant?
No, that's in the director's super duper cut. that was one of the 20 minutes that was cut out of the movie.
Yeah, that had to go. That was just like a PG-18.
So De Niro goes back to Saigon to find Christopher Walken, who is now deep in the underbelly of this competitive Russian roulette world.
Well, keep in mind, he fucks his girlfriend, though. You're skipping an important part. He fucks Meryl Streep. That's his girlfriend.
I don't know. They were taking time apart. He's always loved her. He's always loved her.
So did Christopher Walken love her.
Yeah, and she said, "Can't we?" It was psychological support through physical means.
Right, but is it possible his guilt-ridden self made him go back to get his friend on top of that? Here he is banging her. Meryl Streep
now that you brought up the homoerotic stuff, maybe he was going back to get the person that he,
yeah.
But the whole thing is that we found out about Christopher Walken successful. I don't know how anyone's successful in the game of Russian roulette, but he was sending money back.
Dude, he clearly survived 1 million rounds.
Yeah, but
I don't know how he did that. He's like the Muhammad Ali of Russian roulette. How did he survive?
If it's pure, unless he had a way of spinning the barrel so that he knew roughly where the bullet was.
Keep in mind, two different things. No barrel spinning in the hostage hut. Barrel spinning in the Saigon game room. Big difference.
Interesting.
Because you would know from the clicks, without barrel spinning, there's no knowledge that you could possibly have of which cylinders are filled in the real game, which you're seeing here. In the hostage scene, there's no barrel spinning.
Which one would, in theory, hypothetically allow you to determine where the bullet is?
The first one.
Spinning.
The ones where they're hostages. That's how he's allowed to put the 3 in. If you spin the barrel, who the fuck knows what's going to happen? These guys are putting 1 in and spinning the barrel. If you didn't spin the barrel, you'd have 5 more empty chambers somewhere in a row going on.
Okay, no, that much I understood. I'm just wondering.
Just think about it as a gambler that your addicted, sick gambling life would tell you about on Polymarket. You have a cylinder that's empty, 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 and then you have the 1, right? Now you just had a click, then another click, then another click, then another click, without barrel spinning. It would completely raise the stakes every single time. If you didn't spin the barrel, think about how it would increase your chances of getting shot in the head.
Okay, no, that much I said. Spinning the barrel in between shots. Now, the only question I had is how one succeeds at the game of, I'm not trying to invite anybody to do it, at a game of Russian roulette, unless if hypothetically there's a way to spin it so you know that the bullet's on the bottom, so that's an empty.
Right, but he's spinning it. The Mao chairman is spinning it. The eye patch guy. And what does Mao mean? Is it Chairman Mao?
No, I always
keep yelling Mao, Mao, Mao.
I always thought it's just a very, very audibly upsetting noise, especially.
Does it mean go? I mean, what does it mean to my Chinese communist friends?
Diddy Mao, I think, is like what we see in all the Vietnam movies. I'm gonna double check what that means in a second.
Well, it must mean something. I don't think it means Chairman Mao, but clearly they yell Mao, Mao, Mao. I mean, 6 times in the movie.
Okay, we're gonna find that out in a second. But
thank you.
Robert De Niro goes back to try to pull out Christopher Walken from this underbelly of Russian roulette society, because he knows that he's there and winning, because he's been sending money back to Savage in the hospital, who opens up a drawer and has got a bunch of $100 bills in 1979 or 74, sorry, which is a lot of money. So he goes and he finds him after buying his way in to the Russian roulette game for $1,500. He paid $500 to the Frenchman. The Frenchman was not pretending. The Frenchman was pretending not to know where he was, right? He always knew where he was.
No, he knew, but he also throws back the 500. He doesn't want any part of it, the Frenchman. At the end, he throws in his 5 to the bald-headed chopstick guy on the right there to convince him, like, that money's not enough. He needs the extra 5 clams to get in. And he kicks back, the Frenchman kicks back the 5, thereby taking away the monetary incentive for the Frenchman, because man who says no to champagne says no to life.
Diddy Mao means, and it's not D-I-D-D-Y, it's D-I-D-I-M-A-U, or Diddy Mao.
M-A-U.
It means go quickly, hurry up and go, get out of here, or move it. So
that's a lot. Okay, so it means go. It means go.
It means go.
Right.
So when Robert De Niro meets Walken, Walken's effectively catatonic. We don't see the track marks until they're actually at the table playing, and he either says he doesn't recognize him, or
no, he doesn't recognize him.
You think that he was that far gone? And so,
oh yeah.
And so
you could see the recognition in the scene where he begins to recognize him.
Yeah, but then why did he take the shot, Mark?
Dude, because he's been taking this shot month after month after month after month. This is what he does.
It was very upsetting. So he meets him. He tries.
What about the thing on his head on the right? Is that like from previous wounds where the bone is sticking out? Nobody ever explained that to me.
I would have thought that might have been
that under there. What is going on there? I always thought, is that part of the turban, or is that some bone matter that's sticking out of his head from previous missed shots?
Or is it?
Well, gentlemen, I am the governor of California here. I often partake in such things within our capital, and let me tell you, that's there to catch the bullet, so it doesn't go all the way through.
Right. Thank you, Your Honor.
And while I'm here, everybody, please subscribe, because this guy owes me a lot of tax money, and he's going to pay it before he leaves the state. We will find you, Mark. We always know where you are.
Hold on a second. Is it really there so that it prevents the bullet from like that?
No, I don't know. I don't know. It could be part of the turban thing to keep it tucked in there, or it could be some bone matter sticking out. I'm not really sure what that is.
I was initially going to say it was part of the squib, because I viscerally remember the blood coming out of Christopher Walken's head when I saw it as a kid, and him screaming.
That's the other side, Viva. That's the right side of his head, not the other side.
So when De Niro first gets him, he doesn't recognize him. He's trying to talk him out of it. Walker spits in his face. Apparently, it was unplanned and surprised Robert De Niro. Then they sit at the table, and he's trying to reach him. Walken takes the first shot, click. De Niro is forced to take the second shot, closes his eyes, click. And then Walken takes it, and look, like you say, it looks like he's coming to some form of recognition, but probably brain fried, and takes one last shot, or one clean shot, were his words, which was from
if there was a click, it was an empty chamber. Put an empty chamber in that gun. Put an empty chamber in that gun. If there was an empty chamber in that gun, they possibly could have walked out together.
It was a very upsetting movie.
Yes, one of the top upsetting movies of all time.
Well, and then they have his funeral when he gets back, and they sing, what's the God Bless America?
God Bless America, while, what's his name is making scrambled eggs.
Yeah, and he's saying, no, the movie is a singular piece of art, an experience.
Yeah.
It's not entertainment. It's living the lives of people that you'll never, there's not very many of them. And, a
lot of people went through that. I mean, at one point there were over 1 million men fighting over there.
Well, that's what I mean.
An enormous amount of people over there.
Yeah,
that's where the phrase "boots on the ground" comes from.
No, what's amazing is the story tells, like, where in mainstream society, the veterans are a political talking point to some extent, and yet and the most neglect. I mean, the scene when they were in the hospital, the veterans hospital, it didn't look like overt neglect, and maybe that wasn't the point it was trying to make, but just the idea that, like, this is what people actually went through, and then you try to come back and reintegrate into society with people who can never possibly relate to you, and who it'll be difficult for you to ever relate to again. And
right,
sort of.
I mean, by the way, Oliver Stone is not a fan of this movie. He does not enjoy and he's worked with Cimino. I think he wrote Year of the Dragon, the Mickey Rourke film that Cimino directed. He does not like the depiction of his blessed North Vietnamese and his communists that are depicted in bad light. He thinks that the movie's racist, and he believes they depicted Asians in a bad light, according to Oliver Stone.
Yeah, well, no, not that I agree or disagree. It certainly was. I mean, it was the case, but they're supposed to be the villains in the movie. It was. He
doesn't like that politically, by the way, Oliver. Yeah.
No, it's because it demonized they're supposed to be North Vietnamese, but good luck for anybody to distinguish. It vilified the North Vietnamese the way modern movies vilify Muslims and Russians.
Or cowboy and Indian movie. What about cowboy and Indian movies?
I don't know. In the Indian movies, they still always they seem, in my recollection, to always have had. Nonetheless, there was always a segment of the Indian native population that was the true, like, spirit of the woods type thing, and not the scalping, murderous I have to. We might have to do Last of the Mohicans. I
Maybe.
watched
Which one? The first one or
the one. Oh geez, come on. What's
two? I think there's two of them.
The Daniel Day-Lewis, but now I can't remember.
Right, there's an older one too. I think there's an older one.
No, not doing that. Don't say
next
black and
week,
white.
Next week I would like to do Titanic with James Cameron, a Canadian director, and bring in the Canadian James Cameron influence and do Titanic next week.
You want to do Titanic?
Yeah, I do. I really do.
Okay, that's
first of all, it's a Canadian director, one of the greatest Canadian directors of all time, which I thought might be helpful to you.
Kirk Cameron is Canadian.
Kirk Cameron, the little director from Canada, who was a Mountie at one point. I think he was a Canadian Mountie. No, I mean James Cameron, Titanic. You've got an incredible director making this incredible, gigantic film.
Yeah, and I can watch that with the family. They would love it.
Of course.
There's no Russian roulette ending people's lives at the end of the movie.
No, they all die in an icy death, but who cares about that at the end?
Yeah.
I mean, Guggenheim goes down with the ship, I think.
And maybe, we won't do the alternative theories of the Titanic. Hold on, last thing. Box office hit or smash? I didn't check gross.
It did make money. It did make a lot of awards. It did make.
It's got five Academy Awards.
Yeah, it was very successful. The critics hated it, and he got the tag of being this brilliant, mad, miniature Napoleon genius from this movie, which went to his head. He then went crazy, Michael Cimino. He then apparently became a transvestite. He then apparently had massive amounts of plastic surgery. He then apparently was transitioning to a woman, which never happened. There's so many Michael Cimino crazy stories. It would take a whole episode just to deal with Michael Cimino's craziness. But the closest friend was probably Mickey Rourke, who knew him best. But Clint Eastwood was a huge supporter because he did Thunderbolt and Lightfoot with Jeff Bridges and Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood backed him up to the day he died. Sun Chaser had Woody Harrelson in it. The Sicilian was based on a Mario Puzo novel.
And Desperate Hours. I mean, The Year of the Dragon I saw. I don't know.
Right. I think that Oliver wrote that and worked with him on that. But Heaven's Gate, of course, is famous because it bankrupted MGM. There's entire books on Heaven's Gate that were written because of Michael Cimino, which now it's considered by the Europeans, the French and the English, to be one of the greatest American films of all time.
Heaven's Gate was initially 5 hours long in its original cut, cut, became one of the most notorious box office disasters in Hollywood history, nearly bankrupted.
It may have lost $37 million, lost $37 million, and it bankrupted MGM. But now it's perceived to be one of the greatest Westerns of all time.
Cimino's cause of death was not determined or never officially determined?
No. I mean, they found him tucked in bed. They believed he died of a heart attack in his sleep, but we may never know because there was no autopsy, and it's just an incredibly strange life. He lived a secret life in his mansions and was very secretive after Heaven's Gate. You can like and subscribe, and then I'll tell you about it if you do like and subscribe. If not, I'm not going to tell you. But nevertheless, Cimino, he was from like Westbury, Long Island. He came from a upper middle class family, and he fudged his background all the time to make it more exotic and erotic and everything else. But he had written a novel called Big Jane, I think it was, that was the sensation in Europe. And it was about a 6-foot blonde woman who fights the Korean army single-handedly with 450 other women. Just this crazy novel that he was trying to get made at the end of his career.
By the way, if anyone's not for those watching on Rumble, make sure that you subscribe as well. Weekly, 7:00, and I think we figured it out. We can do this now live on all platforms. True? Yeah, it's good. It's good. We had a bunch of people watching. We got 869 still watching.
Wow.
Subscribe and turn on notifications, people. It's
Notifications are important, apparently,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, not so on Rumble, not so much because, well, no, Rumble more so because there's no algorithm to put stuff in front of your face. So you got to actually,
to quote Axel, fucking A.
No, it's good. It's people like it. Some people don't like it. You don't get fed crap. You have to subscribe to what you find.
Well, I want to know if Clairton, Pennsylvania is a real town.
Oh, yes. So hold on a second. I did have that one up on the top here.
Somebody tell me if is that a real place?
Hold on. No, I said
because
Clairton,
he calls home to America on the phone and he says Clairton, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, no. Okay, so it says Clairton town exteriors, steel atmosphere, yada yada. Primarily Mingo Junction, Ohio, opening scenes.
Okay.
Pennsylvania, the real Clairton. But it seems the real.
No,
Clairton,
but is there a real Clairton?
Well, there has to be a place called Clairton.
No, they could have made it up. I don't know that. I mean,
but it says Pennsylvania, the real Clairton, McKeesport and Pittsburgh, West Virginia, Weirton and Follansbee. Oh no,
yeah.
Hold
okay,
on.
There's other places doubling for it, but it's a real place.
Is there a Clairton, Pennsylvania?
That's my question, because he does call on the phone to Clairton, Pennsylvania, to reach her on the phone, and she's probably working in that supermarket with that guy trying to hit on her, the cigar guy who was after her. Now she's the most gorgeous girl in this little town, and she's supposed to work in that supermarket all day and night.
Dude, that's the story of my wife. And then she didn't know that I was not the most handsomest person in Montreal.
Well, I didn't know she lost her sight at an early age. That was tragic when the acid burned out the retinas of her eyes. I did not know that.
Okay, so yes, Clairton, Pennsylvania is a real city, small historic working class town in Allegheny County along the Monongahela River, 10 to 12 miles south of Pittsburgh.
Monongahela.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, Monongahela.
I was reading it as a Frenchman would read it. Monongahela. It's the movie's a work of art. My kid Ethan is still too young to watch it. The girl, I know my middle one will not want to watch it, and my oldest one, I think, is going to have to.
The girls are not going to want to watch this. But the wedding scenes they might want to watch. They're quite fascinating and beautiful. Well, that church is unbelievable in there. Yeah, the interior of that church was insane.
It was insane.
I mean, it is one. I mean, that and keep in mind what they were doing back then. The Godfather earlier had a gigantic wedding scene. So Bertolucci had wedding scenes. They were all trying to outdo each other with these wedding scenes among the artistic directors of the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, well, we'll eventually are going to have to do Godfather 1. But yeah, the church is.
The church is unbelievable. Look at this place.
No, I mean, you don't have many places like that, surviving in that state. I mean, it's also nice that it's being used, properly. Used in that.
Well, that's spelling. He went to a bunch of wedding services in the area, and he saw that double cylinder drink ritual done by the Ukrainians, where the couple drinks from the split cup. Mm-hmm. He saw this happen, Cimino, in his own research, and then the spilling of it onto her dress meant incredibly bad luck for the rest of your life. Almost like the spilling of blood onto the wedding dress. Mm-hmm. I mean, that foreshadows a lot of pain and trouble in that marriage.
There, not to be cynical, there wasn't any happiness or beauty after the. Not after the wedding or after the hunting.
Remember he says, I can't believe I'm getting married and leaving tomorrow, and Walken, I'm surprised, did not marry Meryl Streep before that. Because he did it.
How did someone says, asks Mark and Vince, how did no one at the wedding not see the drip? Oh, what
come on. It was so tiny and so
change your dress.
Come on. It was so small and it's crazy.
And let's
you mean later on when they were dancing? Well, maybe she changed out of her outfit, and just went around. But you could have had
baking soda and
baking soda works. Baking soda works.
Yeah, no, it's a 10 on 10. There's no question about it. I mean, there's one thing. I texted you yesterday when I'm watching this. Some of the music, not the main theme song, some of the score was some music ages well and some music doesn't.
Yeah, it was just had that folk guitar picking through it. If you remember, it was just
no, but there was some like underscore sort of like dramatic music. The theme song that plays, that theme song played for like 2 solid minutes while nothing was happening. You just listen. It was a great song, but no, some of that underscore music was like bad pornography music. But some music.
Well, let me ask you this then: is there good pornography music?
I don't know.
You're saying bad pornography. Well, you could have just said pornography music.
That's probably.
You indicated that there's 2 types of pornography music. From your expertise, I would presume.
Well, the one that goes that's the good porno music. The
phony Giorgio Moroder score. Yeah, the synthesizer one. Yeah, that's
it. Okay, so we're doing Titanic next week.
We'll do Titanic next week, a Canadian film based on a ship that springs a leak. And
it is the most winningest Oscar movie.
Richard Lewis once did a whole series of jokes about the TV Guide log lines of movies that you read on TV Guide in the magazine, because they have the shortened version. And one of my favorites that he did was a Streetcar Named Desire. This week at 6 o'clock, a visitor throws off Stanley's bowling game, which was one of the funniest Richard Lewis log lines of all time. A visitor throws off Stanley's bowling game this week at 9 o'clock, Streetcar Named Desire. Have a nice night, everybody. We'll be back next week. Good to see you all. Remember to like and subscribe and tip your waitresses.